Hi, my name is Benjamin Katz, and welcome back to the 48-cent ice cream review, where today I'm at the Scoop's Udder place in Sioux City, Iowa, trying the two flavors, Fruit Loop and Oreo Cheesecake. Let's get started with the Fruit Loop. Now, I'm not quite certain why they chose to color this ice cream pink, because from my childhood experience, the mix of all the Fruit Loops color turns into a bit of a light gray. I don't know, it looks like a kind of a sludge color, so maybe it's good they didn't go with the actual color of mixed Fruit Loops in milk. I just don't know why pink is necessarily the option. It's certainly more of a juvenile flavor, but it evokes more bubblegum or cotton candy in terms of the color than a standard Fruit Loop would be. But to their credit, it tastes like Fruit Loops. The ice cream base has a great texture. It's smooth, it's creamy, it's rich. And there are legitimate Fruit Loops mixed in. While they are soggy, because of course they're in ice cream and they've been stored for a while and they were involved in liquid products, they're not terrible. They're just kind of chewy as opposed to the crisp, fresh Fruit Loop that you would go for typically. Let's move next to the Oreo Cheesecake. Again, the quality of the base is superb. It is smooth, it is creamy, it's luxurious. It's not quite velvety, right? We're not at the upper echelons of ice cream texture, but we're down to the crystal size where it's imperceptible to the human tongue. So that is a good accomplishment in and of itself. I'm just not tasting too much Oreo cheesecake. Honestly, it sort of tastes like butter popcorn. There is that flavanol, artificial butter flavor that seems to be coming through on the palate, which is a bit surprising because I don't know how that would work itself into a Oreo cheesecake flavor. It tastes kind of confused, the flavor that is. And the Oreos, while there are larger chunks of it, don't seem to be coming through unless you're eating an actual chunk of Oreo. Alright, let's try the two flavors together, see what happens. That is a clash of the artificial sweeteners in my mouth. I don't quite like it. The Oreo flavoring does not mix well with the Fruit Loops flavoring. It's kind of too much artificial sweet, and it's contrasting and clashing artificial sweet as well, leading to a overall product that is worse than the sum of its parts when combining the two flavors. For longtime viewers of the channel, you know that I don't often delve into artificial or overly sweet flavors, preferring the more savory or creative flavors, not focusing on brands or on childhood nostalgia like Fruit Loops or Oreos. But the reason I did this today was because there were the standard flavors at Scoop's Udder place, like, you know, your chocolates, your vanillas, your black cherries, your pistachios. Pistachio is spelled wrong, by the way. But I wasn't getting a lot of sort of unique ideas. Your butter pecans were there, and it seemed like a great crowd pleaser. And it makes sense. The ice cream shop was right next to a movie theater and a cafe. And it seemed like a product of its location specific, targeting a more general audience and families. There's an arcade upstairs, and it has a great family-friendly vibe. But I find that doesn't often work well with creative, interesting flavors, whether it is intentional on the restaurateur's part or simply byproduct of no one ordering the more crafty flavors. They had seasonal flavors like Minty Grinch, but again, I wouldn't consider that too unique. So I decided to go a bit more juvenile myself and explore these two flavors, which I do have a deep connection with in my childhood, because my mother used to make me Oreo cheesecake for my birthday, and I used to eat Fruit Loops as a treat with my siblings. We would play this whole game about eating the flavors in order, and I thought it would be worth it to spark a bit of childhood nostalgia in this ice cream experience. However, these flavors fall far flat of any desire that I was hoping to kindle. The flavoring is just not that good and tastes much more artificial than I recall the Oreo cheesecake being, or even the Fruit Loops being. I think this vibrant pink flavors throwing me off. And the Oreo cheesecake with these strange additional compounds doesn't taste cheesecakey. It has a bit of Oreo, but there's not any cheesecake that I'm detecting. Now, they did also have a cheesecake flavor, and I would now be curious to try it because I wonder if they would get a cheesecake-specific flavor right, and if they are just adding Oreos to the cheesecake base for this flavor. But I don't know if that's the case. But that brings me to my closing thoughts. I've been to a lot of ice cream shops with fun, quirky names, but the Scoop's Udder place, I don't quite get it, even saying it out loud several times. And I don't quite like their ice cream either. It's very smooth. You cannot argue with the quality of the base compounds, but the flavorings that they're putting forth are a bit too artificial for my liking, especially with the flavors that I got. It was $5.50 for one scoop, and they gave me a hefty amount of ice cream for that price. They're in the same complex as a theater, and they're right in the middle of Sioux City. So if you're in Sioux City and you're looking for homemade ice cream, I think this is one of the better options that exists, just from my preliminary research, but I don't necessarily know if I would go again. And if I did, I would probably stick to the basics. If you like this video and want to see more like it, consider subscribing, or go to FineFilterMarketing.com for more on the journey. Thank you.